My name is Dorothea. I am 20 years old. I live in a quiet town called Middlemarch. I live with my sister Celia and my uncle. My uncle is kind and takes care of us. He wants us to marry good men. Celia is happy with small things. She likes pretty dresses and soft colors. But I am different. I want a big life. I want to do something good and useful. I want to help poor people and make their lives better. Sometimes people say I dream too much. They say I should think about clothes and parties, but I do not care about those things. I like to read and think. I want to learn about the world. I want to marry a man who is wise, a man who can teach me, a man who has a big mind and a kind heart. I think marriage should have a purpose, not just love. I want to be part of something good and important. One day I met a man named Mr. Casaubon. He was much older than me. His hair was gray and his face was serious. People said he was a very clever man. They said he was writing a great book about religion and history. When I talked to him, he spoke about ideas and books. I thought he was very wise. I thought he understood the truth about life. When he looked at me, I felt that he saw my heart. I thought he was the one. My sister Celia did not like him. She said he was too old. She said he did not smile. But I told her that love is not about fun or beauty. It is about respect and learning. I believed that I could help him. I could be his friend and his helper. I could share his great work. When Mr. Casaubon asked me to marry him, I said yes. I felt lucky. I thought my life was starting. I thought I would have a great purpose with him. The wedding was small. People in town whispered that I made a strange choice. Some said I wanted his money. Others said I did not understand what I was doing. But I did not listen. I loved him in my own way. I wanted to make him happy. After the wedding, we left for Rome. I had never been outside England before. I was full of hope. I thought we would visit old churches and talk about his book. I wanted to learn everything. But in Rome, things did not go as I dreamed. The city was full of noise, people, and old buildings. I wanted to share my thoughts with Mr. Casaubon, but he was always busy. He sat at his desk every day reading and writing. He did not talk much. When I asked him about his work, he gave short answers. I tried to help, but he said he did not need help. Sometimes he looked tired and annoyed. I did not understand why. I began to feel lonely. I walked through the streets of Rome, looking at the statues and churches. Everything was beautiful, but I felt empty inside. I wanted to talk to him about how I felt, but he was cold and distant. He only spoke about his book and his health. I tried to be patient. I told myself that he was a great man and that I should not disturb him. But sometimes I cried at night. I felt that he did not see me. One day, a young man came to visit us. His name was Will Ladislaw. He was Mr. Casaubon's cousin. He was kind and full of energy. He liked art and music and spoke with feeling. He made me laugh. He told me about the beauty of life and the power of hope. I felt light when he was near. But Mr. Casaubon did not like him. He said Will was lazy and foolish. I did not think so. Will made me see things differently. He made me feel alive again. Still, I wanted to be a good wife. I wanted to make my husband proud. I thought maybe he would love me more if I worked hard and stayed quiet. But nothing changed. He grew more silent. When I smiled, he did not smile back. When I tried to help him with his work, he looked away. I began to see that he was not kind, only proud. He cared more for his book than for me. One evening in Rome, I sat by the window and looked at the sunset. The sky was red and gold. I thought about my dreams before marriage. I had wanted to do good things. I had wanted to learn and share a great life with someone. But now I was a wife who sat alone in a quiet room while her husband worked in silence. My heart ached. I realized that wisdom without kindness is cold. Knowledge without love is nothing. When we returned to Middlemarch, I hoped things would be better. I thought home would make him gentle, but he was the same. He spoke little and looked tired all the time. I tried to make our house warm and peaceful, but he only cared for his books. People in the town started to say that our marriage was strange. They said I looked sad. I smiled at them and said everything was fine, but inside I knew the truth. He never understood my heart. At night, I would sit by the fire and think about my life. I was young and full of dreams, but I felt trapped in silence. I wanted to believe there was still a way to make this life meaningful. I told myself that maybe I could help poor families in the town. Maybe I could do good on my own. I still believed in kindness and purpose. But sometimes, I looked at my husband and wondered if he would ever truly see me. Not as his wife, not as his helper, but as a woman who wanted to love and be loved. Before I continue rest of the story, please like, subscribe, share, and tell me where you are listening from. Your support means a lot to me. Now let's continue. After we came back from Rome, our house felt cold. It was large and quiet. Mr. Casaubon sat in his study all day. I often walked alone in the garden. I liked to look at the trees and the light in the morning. Sometimes I prayed and asked God to help me understand my life. I wanted to be thankful, but my heart was heavy. I wanted to be useful and kind, but I did not know how. My husband did not talk to me about his thoughts or his plans. When I asked if I could help him with his book, he said no. He said I could not understand his work. Those words hurt me deeply. I began to see the truth. I had married a man who wanted respect, not love. He wanted someone to listen, not someone to speak. I had thought I could share his world, but he kept the door closed. When we had dinner together, he spoke only about old books or people I did not know. He never asked me what I felt or what I wanted. He never tried to make me laugh or smile. He did not see that I was lonely. One day, my uncle came to visit us. He talked with my husband about church and money. I stayed quiet. When my uncle left, he said softly, "My dear, you look tired." I smiled and said I was fine, but inside, I felt small. I had so many dreams, but now I felt trapped in a life I did not understand. A few weeks later, Will Ladislaw came to Middlemarch. He said he wanted to see my husband and talk about some family business. When I saw him again, I felt happy. He was warm and friendly, just like before. He asked how I was. I wanted to tell him the truth, but I only said, "I am well." Still, he looked at me kindly, as if he could see my sadness. We walked together in the garden. He spoke about art, books, and people. His words were full of life. For the first time in months, I felt alive too. I listened to him and forgot my worries for a moment. But when my husband saw us talking, his face grew dark. That night, he was cold and distant. He said that Will was not a serious man and that I should not spend time with him. I did not want to make my husband angry, so I said nothing. After that, I saw Will only a few times, but I thought about our talks often. He made me remember my younger self, the girl who wanted to help others and live with meaning. I missed that girl. I wondered where she had gone. As the days passed, my husband's health grew worse. He looked pale and tired. He spent more time in bed. Sometimes he asked me to read to him, but most of the time he wanted to be alone. I tried to care for him, but he did not thank me. Once, when I tried to touch his hand, he pulled away. My heart broke a little more that day. People in town began to whisper. They said Mr. Casaubon was not well. Some said he would not live long. I did not want to believe it. Even though he was cold to me, he was still my husband. I wanted to help him. I wanted him to trust me. One morning, he called me into his room. His face looked tired, but his eyes were sharp. He said, "Dorothea, if I die, I want you to remember me kindly." I said, "Of course. I will always remember you." He gave a small nod and said, "There is something I wish you to promise. I want you to be careful after I am gone. You must not make a mistake that will bring shame to my name." His words confused me. I asked, "What do you mean?" He said nothing more, only that I would understand later. I left the room feeling afraid and sad. The next weeks were quiet. I prayed often. I tried to stay strong. Will came to the house once to say goodbye before leaving town. He said he wanted to travel and find work. I wished him well. When he looked into my eyes, I saw something. Kindness, maybe love. But we said nothing more. Soon after, my husband became very ill. The doctor said he should rest and not work. But he did not listen. He tried to write every day. One evening, he asked me to bring him his papers. I saw his hand shaking. I said, "Please rest. You need sleep." He looked at me and said, "You do not understand my work, Dorothea. It must be finished." His voice was weak, but still proud. I wanted to tell him that I only wanted him to be well, but he would not hear it. Late one night, I woke to a strange sound. I went to his study. He was sitting in his chair, his head bent forward. I touched his shoulder and called his name, but he did not answer. The candle burned low. I felt my heart stop. I called for help, but it was too late. He was gone. I sat beside him for a long time. My tears fell quietly. I thought about our marriage, our years together. I had wanted so much, but he had given me so little. I had tried to understand him, but he never understood me. Now it was over. After his funeral, I was alone in the big house. People said I was a rich widow now, but money meant nothing to me. I felt empty. My heart was tired. The lawyer came to see me about my husband's will. He spoke in a quiet voice and said, "There is one strange part of the will, Mrs. Casaubon. If you ever marry Will Ladislaw, you will lose all your money." For a moment, I could not speak. My hands felt cold. My husband had not trusted me even in death. He had written this cruel thing because he was jealous. I felt pain deep in my heart. I had never done anything wrong, but he still wanted to control me. That night, I sat alone by the fire. I thought about my life, my choices, my dreams. I had married a man I thought was wise. I had wanted to do good things, but I had only learned pain. Yet, in that quiet moment, I also felt something new. I was free. For the first time in my life, I could choose what to do. I could live for myself and for others, not for someone who never saw me. I went to the window and looked at the stars. I felt small, but alive. I whispered, "He never understood my heart, but now I will learn to understand it myself." The days after my husband's death passed slowly. People came to visit and said kind words, but I felt far away from everything. The house was quiet and full of his books. His voice was gone, but his shadow was everywhere. I walked through the rooms and thought about the years I had spent there. I was only 21, but I felt much older. My life had been full of silence and duty. Now, for the first time, I had no one to please. I did not know if I should feel free or lost. Some people in town said I was lucky. They said I had money and a good name. But I did not feel lucky. I felt sad and lonely. I wanted to use my life for something good. I began to visit poor families in the town. I listened to their problems and tried to help them. It gave me peace to do something kind. When I helped others, I forgot my pain for a while. One day, I heard that Will Ladislaw had come back to Middlemarch. My heart jumped when I heard his name. I told myself that it did not matter, but deep inside I knew it did. I had not seen him since the day my husband died. I wondered if he hated me because of what my husband wrote in his will. I knew Will must have heard about it. Everyone in town had. People loved to talk. A few days later, I saw him at my uncle's house. He looked the same, kind, full of life, his eyes bright and gentle. When he saw me, he smiled softly. I felt shy and did not know what to say. He asked how I was, and I said, "I am trying to live well." He looked at me for a long moment and said, "You always tried to live well, Mrs. Casaubon." His voice was quiet, but full of care. We talked for a little while. He told me he had found some work helping a local newspaper. He wanted to write about change and fairness. I liked that. It reminded me of my old dreams, to help people, to make life better. When he spoke, I felt hope again. He was not rich or powerful, but he cared about truth. He cared about people. That was more important to me than anything. After that day, we met often. Sometimes it was at my uncle's house, sometimes in the town. We talked about many things: books, people, kindness, and life. I did not think about love at first. I only felt calm and happy in his company. He made me laugh again. He made me believe that my heart could feel light after all that pain. But not everyone liked that we were friends. People in Middlemarch began to whisper again. They said it was wrong for a young widow to spend time with her husband's cousin. They said I only liked him because of his looks. I felt angry and hurt. I knew that was not true. But Will heard the same things, and one day he told me he would leave the town. When he said that, I felt something break inside me. I asked him, "Why must you go?" He said, "Because I do not want to bring shame to your name. People talk too much." His words were kind, but they felt like goodbye. I wanted to tell him that I did not care about what people said. I wanted to tell him that I cared about him, but I could not find the words. That night, I could not sleep. I sat by the window and watched the rain. I thought about my husband's will. I thought about how he had tried to keep me tied to the past, and I thought about Will, how he made me feel alive and honest. I realized that I had spent too much time trying to please others. I had lived by other people's rules. I wanted to live by my own heart now. The next morning, I went to find him. He was at the newspaper office working. When he saw me, he looked surprised. I said, "You must not leave because of me. I am not afraid of people's talk. Let them say what they like. I want to be your friend. I want to stand by what I feel." His eyes filled with light. He said softly, "Dorothea, you do not know what that means to me." I smiled and said, "Yes, I do." From that day, things changed. We saw each other often, but we were careful. We talked about the world, about work, and about helping others. I began to feel strong again. I knew now that life could be good, even after pain. Months passed, and one evening he came to visit me. It was quiet and warm. He said, "I am leaving for London. There is work there for me." I felt a sharp pain in my heart. I said, "Then this is goodbye?" He looked down and said, "Only if you want it to be." For a moment we were both silent. Then I said softly, I do not want it to be goodbye. He took my hand, and we both understood. When he left for London, I stayed in Middlemarch for a while. People still talked, but I stopped caring. I knew what was right for me. 1 year later, I went to London to marry Will. Many people in town were shocked. They said I had thrown away my money and my good name, but I did not care. I had learned that peace of heart is worth more than money or pride. In London, our life was simple. We lived in a small house with few things, but we were happy. We talked, we worked, we shared our dreams. I helped him with his writing. He encouraged me to help others. I felt free for the first time in my life. Sometimes I thought about my first husband. I did not hate him. I only felt sorry that he never understood love. He lived for his book, but I learned to live for people. I understood now that love is not about power or pride. It is about kindness, trust, and care. When I walked through the city and saw people smile, I felt thankful. Life had not been easy for me, but it had taught me what truly mattered. I had found the peace that I once looked for in books and prayers. I had found it in a simple, honest heart. My story was not one of wealth or fame. It was the story of learning to be free. He never understood my heart, but I did. And that made all the difference. Thank you for listening to this story. If you enjoyed this story, please like the video and subscribe to English Medium Stories. Stay with us for more classic stories in easy English. My name is Olivia. I am 29 years old. I never thought I would stand in a courtroom. I never thought I would need to fight like this. But one day, my life changed, and I had no choice. I met Daniel when I was 25. He was tall, kind, and funny. He smiled a lot, and I liked the way he talked to me. We met at a friend's wedding. We talked all night, and after 2 months, we started dating. 1 year later, we got married. At first, I thought I was lucky. I thought I had found a good man. He had a good job. He worked at a bank. I worked at a bakery. Life was not perfect, but we were happy. We lived in a small apartment with 1 bedroom and a small kitchen. We did not have a car, but we had love. Or so I thought. After 1 year of marriage, Daniel lost his job. He said the company was closing. I believed him. I told him, "It's okay. I will work more. You will find another job soon." I worked many hours at the bakery. I woke up early every day. I came home late and tired. I did the cooking and the cleaning. I paid all the bills. But Daniel did not look for a job. He stayed home all day and watched TV. When I asked him, "Did you apply for any job today?" he got angry. He shouted, "Do you think I'm lazy?" I said no, but he did not listen. After that day, he changed. He started shouting often. He was angry all the time. Sometimes he said bad things to me. He said, "You are nothing without me." He said, "No one else will love you." I was hurt. I cried at night. I still cooked for him. I still hoped he would change. But he didn't. One day, he threw a plate at the wall. It broke into pieces. I was very scared. He didn't hit me, but I felt unsafe. I wanted to leave, but I was afraid. I had no family near me. My parents live in another country. I had no one. Then something happened. I found out I was pregnant. I was happy, but also afraid. I wanted to be a mother, but I did not want my baby to grow up in a home with shouting and fear. I waited for the right time. When I told Daniel, he looked at me and said, "Now you can't leave me." His face was cold. His voice was flat. He did not say congratulations. He did not hug me. That night, I sat in bed and cried. I held my belly and said, "I will protect you." When the baby was born, I named her Lena. She was beautiful. She had big brown eyes and soft black hair. I loved her more than anything in the world. After 6 months, I made a decision. I had to leave. I packed our clothes and some baby things. I went to stay with my friend Maria. She said, "You can stay here as long as you need." I was very thankful. Daniel did not call us for months. He did not ask about Lena. He did not send money. I worked hard and took care of everything. I got a small job at a cafe. It was hard with a baby, but I managed. I found a small room to rent. It was not big, but it was safe. Lena started walking. She started saying "Mama." I was tired, but I was also happy. For the first time in a long time, I felt peace. Then, after 2 years, Daniel came back. He called me and said, "I want to see my daughter." I was surprised. I said, "Where were you all this time?" He said, "That doesn't matter. I have rights. I will go to court." I was scared. I didn't know what to do. He didn't care for her before. Why now? 2 weeks later, I got a letter from the court. Daniel wanted full custody. He said I was not a good mother. He told the court that I left him without a reason. He said I didn't let him see his daughter. He said I was angry and not stable. I felt sick when I read the letter. I sat on the floor and cried. How could he lie like that? I didn't know what to do. I had no lawyer. I had little money. But I knew the truth. I knew what really happened, and I decided to fight back. At the first court hearing, Daniel wore a suit. He looked very calm. He smiled when he talked. He told the judge that I kept the baby away from him. He said I was full of hate. He said he wanted to be a father, but I said no. I sat in my seat and looked down. My hands were cold. My legs were shaking. The judge looked at me and asked, "Do you have something to say?" I stood up and said, "Yes, I do, but I need time. I have proof." The judge gave me 1 week. That week was very hard. I looked through my old things. I looked at my old phone. I found messages from Daniel. He wrote, "You are nothing." He wrote, "I hope you fail." I found voice recordings too. On some nights, when I was scared, I had recorded his voice. I never planned to use them, but now they could help. I heard his voice say, "If you take the baby, I will destroy you." I heard him say, "No one will help you. No one cares." I cried again, but this time I felt stronger. I printed the messages. I saved the recordings. I wrote a letter to the judge. I told him everything. My friend Maria also agreed to speak. She had seen my pain. She had seen the broken plates. She had held me when I cried. She said, "This time, Olivia, you will not be alone." On the day of the next hearing, I walked into court with my head held high. I gave the judge the papers. I gave him the phone. I told him my story. I spoke slowly and clearly. I looked at Daniel. He was not smiling now. His face was red. He looked at the floor. The judge listened carefully. He asked questions. I answered them. My friend Maria stood up and told the truth. The room was very quiet. I could hear my heartbeat. When I finished, the judge said, "Thank you. I will take time to decide." Daniel walked out quickly. He didn't look at me, but I didn't care. I had told the truth, and this time I had proof. That night, I walked home with Lena. She held my hand. She looked up at me and said, "Mama, are you okay?" I smiled and said, "Yes, baby. Mama is okay." Now I had to wait. Wait for the judge. Wait for justice. But deep inside, I already felt free. The days after the court hearing were slow and heavy. Every morning, I checked the mailbox. Every evening, I checked my phone. I waited for a letter or a call from the court. I did not know what the judge would say. I was scared, but I also felt proud. I told the truth. I showed the proof. I did everything I could. Lena was 3 years old now. She was small and full of energy. She liked to sing and play with her toy animals. She loved cats, even though we didn't have one. I took her to the park when I had time. I watched her run and laugh. She was the reason I stayed strong. When I looked at her, I knew I had to keep going. One morning, I got a letter from the court. My hands were shaking as I opened it. I took a deep breath. The judge wrote that he read all the documents and listened to the recordings. He wrote that he believed my story. He said I would keep full custody of Lena. Daniel could visit her, but only at a special center with a worker present, and only once a month. I sat down on the floor and cried. But this time, I cried because I felt safe. I called Maria and told her the news. She screamed with joy. "You did it," she said. "You showed them the truth." I smiled through my tears. "I didn't think I could do it," I said. "But you did," she replied. "You're stronger than you think." After that, Daniel sent one message. It said, "You made me look bad. You will regret this." I didn't answer. I didn't feel fear anymore. I saved the message and showed it to the court center. They said he could not contact me again outside of the visits. The first visit was in 2 weeks. A woman from the center called me. She said Daniel would come and see Lena. She asked if I would bring her. I said yes. I wanted to do the right thing. I wanted Lena to have the chance to know her father. But I was also afraid. What if she cried? What if he was mean to her? I talked to Lena the day before. I said, "Tomorrow you will meet someone. His name is Daniel. He is your father." She looked at me with big eyes. "Where has he been?" she asked. I paused. Then I said, "He was far away, but now he wants to see you." She didn't say much. She just hugged me. I held her tight and kissed her head. The next day we went to the center. The woman at the door was kind. She took us to a room with toys and books. "You can stay here for a few minutes," she said. "Then we'll bring him in." Lena sat on a small chair. She looked around the room. She didn't speak. Then Daniel came in. He wore nice clothes. He had cut his hair and shaved his beard. He looked clean and polite. He smiled at Lena. "Hello," he said. "I'm your dad." Lena looked at him but said nothing. She held my hand tightly. The worker said, "Only Daniel can stay now. Olivia, please wait outside." I kissed Lena's head. "I will be right here," I whispered. I smiled to make her feel calm. Then I walked out. I sat in a small room next door. I looked at the wall clock. The visit was 30 minutes. I waited. My hands were cold. My stomach felt heavy. I wanted to know what they were talking about. I hoped he was kind. I hoped he didn't say anything bad. After 30 minutes, the door opened. Lena came out first. Her face looked confused. She didn't smile. She walked to me and said, "He gave me a toy cat." I looked down and saw a small plastic cat in her hand. "Did you have fun?" I asked. She said, "It was okay." Daniel walked out behind her. He looked at me. He didn't speak. He just nodded once, then turned away. The worker said, "She did well." He was quiet. He asked some questions. She didn't speak much. I said thank you and took Lena's hand. We went home. In the days after that visit, Lena was quiet. She didn't talk about Daniel. I didn't ask much. I wanted to give her space. I watched her play and thought about her future. Would Daniel try to see her more? Would he try to change? Or would he disappear again? 1 week later, the center called. They said Daniel didn't come for his second visit. I was surprised. I asked, "Did he give a reason?" They said no. He didn't call or write. I looked at Lena and felt sad. I didn't want her to be hurt. I didn't want her to feel like she was not important. Another week passed. then another. Daniel did not come back. After 2 months, the center said, "He has not asked for visits again. If he wants to return, he must follow the same rules." I said thank you and hung up the phone. I looked at Lena and smiled. "It's just us again," I said. She looked up and smiled back. "That's okay, Mama," she said. "We are happy." That night, I sat by the window. I looked up at the stars. I thought about everything. My marriage, the fear, the court, the truth, the pain, and now, the quiet. I felt tired, but I also felt strong. I had lost many things, but I still had hope. I had my daughter. I had peace. I had my voice, and I had used it. Some people said I was brave, but I didn't feel brave. I just knew I had to protect my child. I had to protect myself. I had to stand up. I didn't do it for revenge. I did it for truth. I did it for justice. Sometimes truth is heavy. Sometimes people don't believe you. But you must still speak, because truth is stronger than lies. And even if people try to hide it, the truth always comes back. Now, my life is small and quiet. I work at the cafe. I take Lena to school. We play. We cook. We laugh. We have little things, but we are happy. I no longer wait for anyone. I no longer fear the past. I look forward. I live each day with love. And I tell Lena every day, "You are strong. You are kind. You are loved." Because I want her to grow up with truth, with love, and with the strength to fight for what is right. It has been 3 years since the court case. Lena is now 6 years old. She is in school. She loves reading and drawing. She still plays with the small plastic cat Daniel gave her. She calls it Whiskers. She does not talk about him much. Sometimes she asks questions. Sometimes she says nothing at all. One evening, she sat at the kitchen table and looked at me. "Mama," she said, "why doesn't he come back?" I looked into her eyes. They were full of pain and confusion. I said, "I don't know, baby. Some people are not ready to be parents. But that's not your fault." She stayed quiet for a few seconds. Then she said, "That's okay. I still have you." I smiled and kissed her cheek. "Yes," I said, "you always have me." My life is still simple. I work at the cafe during the day. I pick up Lena from school in the afternoon. We walk home, talk about her day, and make dinner together. I don't earn a lot of money, but we have enough. We have food. We have warm clothes. We have a small apartment filled with books and love. We are not rich, but we are safe. Sometimes I think about Daniel. I wonder if he ever feels sorry. I wonder if he knows how much he hurt us. I wonder if he will ever try to come back. But I do not wait for him. I no longer feel afraid. I am not the same woman I was before. I have changed. After the court case, I started talking to other women. Some were in the same situation. Some were still afraid. Some were still trying to leave. I told them my story. I told them to keep records, to save messages, to speak up, to ask for help. Many of them cried when I spoke. They said, "Thank you. Now I know I am not alone." I said, "You are never alone." One woman named Hira stayed in touch with me. Her husband was very controlling. He didn't hit her, but he shouted and called her names. She had 2 small children. She had no job, no money, and no family in the city. She said, "I want to leave, but I can't." I helped her find a place to stay. I helped her write her story for court. I sat with her at her first hearing. When she won, she held my hand and cried. "I thought I was weak," she said. "But now I know I am strong." I hugged her and said, "Yes, you are. We all are." Helping other women gave me strength. It gave my pain a purpose. I did not just fight for myself. I now fought for others too. One afternoon, I got a letter. It was from Daniel. My heart beat fast when I saw his name. I opened it slowly. Inside, there was a short note. He wrote, "I am sorry. I was angry and wrong. I hope Lena is happy. I know I do not deserve to see her. I just wanted to say sorry." That was all. No phone number, no address, no request for visits. Just a few lines. I sat on the couch and held the letter in my hands. I did not cry. I did not feel hate. I felt calm. It was too late for us. It was too late for him, but not too late for me. Not too late for Lena. I never replied. I put the letter in a small box with court papers and old photos. That part of my life was closed. Later that night, I looked at Lena as she slept. She held whiskers in her small hand. Her face looked peaceful. I thought about how far we had come. I thought about the nights I cried alone. I thought about the fear, the shouting, the broken plates. And I thought about the day I stood up in court and said, "This is the truth." That moment changed everything. Now, I teach Lena the same thing. I tell her, always speak the truth. Even if it is hard, even if you are scared, the truth will help you. The truth will protect you. She listens. She nods. One day she said, "I told the teacher the truth when I broke a cup at school. I was scared, but she didn't get angry." I hugged her. "I'm proud of you," I said. "That is how we grow strong." One weekend, I took her to visit my parents in another country. It was her first plane ride. She was excited. My parents had not seen her in many years. They cried when they saw her. My father said, "She is so big now." My mother held me close and said, "You are strong, Olivia. You are brave." I smiled and said, "I had no choice. I had to protect my child." My mother said, "And you did. You did it well." On the last day of our visit, Lena sat in my mother's lap. She asked, "Was Mama always strong?" My mother smiled. "Your Mama was strong even before she knew it. Sometimes we learn how strong we are when life is hard." Lena smiled. "I want to be strong too." I looked at her and said, "You already are." Now we are back home. Life is quiet again. The seasons change. Lena grows taller. Her drawings fill the walls. My heart feels light. The past is behind me, but the lessons stay. When people ask me how I did it, I say, I told the truth, and I had proof. That truth gave me peace. That truth gave my daughter a better life. And that truth made me free. I don't know what the future will bring, but I know this. If you tell the truth and stand strong, you can survive anything, even the hardest day, even the darkest night. Because truth and justice are not just big words. They are choices, and I chose both.